See, I used to be able to block all this from seeing so much death in my career. People would say I was cold because, like, if I went to a funeral, I wouldn't shed a tear. Now, if I think of something, I get a little emotional. And 8 months after my stroke and everything, I would always call my dad whenever I would go to the doctor's office, and he would call me vice versa. He just lived right down the street from me, so we were always working on cars or stuff like that. We had old classic cars and everything, and I was in the shower about to go to my doctor's appointment that morning, and my phone rang, and I opened the curtain. I seen it was him. I said, I'll call him back in a second, and something said, pick it up. Picked it up, and I heard somebody saying my dad was on the floor.
This is the Recovery After Stroke podcast with Bill Gassiamis, helping you navigate recovery after stroke.
Hello and welcome to Recovery After Stroke, a podcast full of answers, advice, and practical tools for stroke survivors to help you take back your life after a stroke and build a stronger future. I'm your host, 3 times stroke survivor, Bill Gassiamis. After my life was turned upside down and I went from being an active father to being stuck in hospital, I knew if I wanted to get back to the life I loved before, the recovery was up to me. After years of researching and discovering, I learned how to heal my brain and rebuild a healthier and happier life than I ever dreamed possible. And now I've made it my mission to empower other stroke survivors like you to recover faster, achieve your goals, and take back the freedom you deserve. If you enjoy this episode and want more resources, accessible training, and hands-on support, check out my Recovery After Stroke membership community. Created especially for stroke survivors and caregivers, this is your clear pathway to transform your symptoms, reduce your anxiety, and navigate your journey to recovery with confidence. Head to recoveryafterstroke.com to find out more after this podcast. But for now, let's dive right into today's episode. This is episode 154, and my guest today is medical professional Sam Haynes. Sam has spent 20 years plus as a medical professional helping in hospitals. He has 5 years ago experienced a hemorrhagic stroke from an AVM. He has had 4 aneurysms, and part of his treatment required a craniotomy, and Gamma Knife was also used to manage the inoperable AVM. Sam Haynes, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how you doing, Bill?
I'm doing really well. Thanks so much for reaching out. I'm glad to have you on here. You know, we don't get a lot of men on the podcast, and I'm not sure why that is. Men don't seem to want to talk about this stuff too much.
Well, I've kind of found out 20 years working in the medical field, I always tell patients where I work, you know, men wait 5 days before coming in when they knew they should have came in the first day, and women will go for help. So that's probably part of the reasoning behind you don't want to show weakness and stuff like that. But with a brain injury, I mean, it don't matter how big you are or who you are. It's debilitating in so many levels, you know. So that's probably the reason why you don't have that many men come on here.
It's tough. Tell me a little bit about the work that you do.
So I've been a respiratory therapist for 20 years. I've worked in ICUs. I actually worked the last pandemic, or what I don't think it was classified as a pandemic. It was the swine flu. I was working at Vanderbilt in 2009. And so I've seen a lot of deaths from that, you know, and so this virus is kind of hitting the same way, dealing with the lungs, but it's just a different beast in this virus, you know. And I know we're in the whole world's in the middle of this political divide, and then you throw a virus in there with a pandemic and then make people go broke. And so it is just, there's so many levels to this virus. And because the hospital's on lockdown, they don't, the people are not actually seeing people die, you know. And so I, as a respiratory therapist, unfortunately, my job, I mean, we saved many lives in my career. I've seen so many miraculous recoveries But unfortunately, this one right here is just, this year, I'll say 2020 was the most deaths I've seen from a respiratory point of view. I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, the end of life, people don't think about, the doctor writes the thing, take the patient off the vent because that's their wishes, but there has to be a person go take that person off the vent and watch them take their last breath. And that actually comes back into my first few months of recovery. Oh, like I told you in the email, are you ready to peel back the onion? Because there's so many levels.
Yeah. Tell me about what happened to you first. Let's do that. And yeah, we'll dive into it. That's what it's about.
So I was in the gym August the 14th, 2015. I mean, like I said, I've worked respiratory for 20 years now, but at that time was about 15. And I had a routine. My routine actually saved my life because I had this AVM that I did not know about. It had gave me signs and symptoms before this, but nobody picked up on them. And so they just said it was, oh, you're just probably lifting heavy weights and you got some nerve damage under that right arm, because it didn't affect nothing on my right side except my arm. And it would only affect it like 3 times a year for about a minute. And so, unfortunately, our great medical system here in the United States, an MRI of your brain or a CT, if you ever look at your bill, other than the insurance picking up a big portion of it, if you have insurance, it's $5,000. And the reason I know that number is because I've had so many scans after my gamma knife every 3 months, every 6 months, and I do it every year now. And so I see those bills. So the average person is not going to spend that much. And the average ER doctor has somebody over them saying, do not order anything that is not needed. So if you don't go in there with a massive headache, you're throwing up, they're not going to scan you. If they would have scanned me, I would have been a controlled surgery and not a life flighted surgery, and all the other ordeals I had to go through. But fortunately, I had that routine. Like I said, I would get up. Always work night shift, so I would go get up at 2:30, go to the gym, work out for an hour, hour and a half, go home, take a shower, and go to work. I'd done that religiously, whatever city I worked in, because I was a traveling respiratory therapist. So I got to work at a lot of major medical centers, Vanderbilt, University of Cincinnati, Georgetown University. I kind of traveled around. I'd done that actual routine every city I was in. And so this particular day, I was 2 days into my 7 days in a row that I would work. I worked 7 on, 7 off at the time. And I remember I went to just warm up on some overhead presses. And next thing I know, I fell down, or I dropped down, and I started projectile vomiting. Now, I don't really remember this. I got a little bit. I say I got 15 seconds of memory several months after my injury, because I actually lost 2 weeks before my injury and 4 weeks after my injury. I pretty
Memory.
much memory lost, and so there's a lot of key factors that play in that. It's kind of comical some of it, but like I said, I ruptured. The little bit of memory I got back, I was hanging on. Luckily, this gym was a private gym, and one of my good friends owned the gym. And so my thought was, when I'm throwing up, I got to get the hell off here and clean this up, or Joey's going to be pissed. And then I realized I'm holding on. Now, I had earphones in, and this day, there was one person across from me, but he was doing hack squats and he had his back towards me. They say that's the guy that actually started the chain reaction to get me help. He came over. I kind of vaguely remember him asking me, do you need help? And I don't remember anything else, but I know they said he took me to the garbage can. I threw up there, and then he took me in the bathroom and laid me down and ran next door to get the process of 911 called and get some help to me, go get the owner at his other business. And in that short little time, I actually called my mother and I called my girlfriend. Now, I accidentally FaceTimed them. Only reason I know I'd done this because there's a blurred, kind of eerie picture of me. I accidentally took a picture of myself, and there was a light behind me, so my face is kind of blurred, but it gave me the exact time and date that I basically passed away, because I actually called them, and because I butt dialed them every day in the gym, I didn't answer them, so they hung up on me. And so, of course, probably about 15 minutes later, they got an emergency call saying he's in the back of an ambulance going to the hospital, you know.
Wow.
And so they took me to the local hospital. It was like the perfect storm. Two hospitals in the major cities around me were tied up, the neurosurgeons in New Orleans and in Mobile, Alabama. And so this ER doc that I was in this local hospital said, we got to get him north to this major medical center in Jackson, Mississippi. And so they airlifted me up there. But I don't have no memory of that place.
Yeah.
I went back and talked to him, but that kind of started a chain reaction of, well, he's got this AVM, 4 aneurysms, and we don't think he's going to survive. You know,
How old were you at the time when they discovered this?
I was 44.
Yeah. So the 4 aneurysms were separately located to the AVM?
They were kind of in the cluster. I know they went in, so this is kind of where I got paralyzed on my right side temporarily. When they airlifted me up there, the only reason I know this is I went back, and so when I was able to read again, I read every one of my medical notes. I read the surgery notes, and if I didn't know a word, I looked it up, you know. So, but I mean, I've been in the medical field for now 20 years, at that time 15. That was my blessing in disguise, is that I understood what the doctors were saying when my family didn't. You know, my family was just like any other family. Oh my God, he's got this mass, you know, or he's got these vessels. What? He's going to die. You know, I mean, I see it all the time in the hospitals. And the anxiety from the families causes a lot of turmoil in the critical first parts of saving a life, you know. And so I know in my notes it said that they went and glued me. So they stopped my bleed. They tried to do me with a 2-glue black onyx. And the second gluing they done, my mother said that I came out and I couldn't move my right arm. And so, and unfortunately, I've talked to several neurosurgeons, and they said, believe it or not, that happens more often than you would think, because you got glue, and if they don't backfill those vessels and clear the catheter before they come out, now you got a glue clot. A clot's a clot. It don't matter if it's blood, cholesterol, or glue.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a hemorrhagic stroke, a temporary, and I'm still weak in my right arm. Everybody sees me go to the gym. They're like, oh, you got muscles. I said, yeah, I had a stroke and I'm weak in my right side. You know, I just have that lingering effect on and I'm right-handed. So I've had to learn to do things with my left more than I do with my right, you know?
So, you know, the aneurysms, have they been clipped? Did they go in through the skull, or did it all get done through your groin?
So I've actually got a scar from my ear all the way to my forehead.
Nice.
And you can kind of see that screw right there. you see that bulge in my forehead?
Yeah, put your head a bit lower.
That's one of the 18 little screws.
Put your head a bit lower.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
see,
beautiful.
There's my screw. And
love it.
The scar goes here. Unfortunately, you know, I told my surgeon, I said, you know, you could have grind the screw off or something. You know, I mean, I'm bald.
Do you make
I've learned
people
to
touch
embrace it?
Do you make people touch it?
Yes, I actually taken care of patients. So I was fortunate enough to go back to work 8 months later, and I actually use it as a tool. I've had so many patients say, "You don't know what pain is." I say,
Yeah.
"Hold on, let me just turn a little bit." And when I show them this, then they're like, "Oh man, I don't have it so bad," or it kind of just breaks the ice.
Settles it. Yeah. It's
So
nothing better than a medical professional, like, completely and totally understanding you. Not that we want them to, we would rather they were oblivious to our issues. But I do the same thing when people talk to me about stuff and, I want to mess with them a little bit. Usually my hair is a lot shorter. It's usually a number 1, so you can see my scar. I do that with. I said to him, "Give me a hand. Touch this. Feel my screw," and that
uh,
messes with them a little
uh,
bit.
if I shake my head, I can feel it. I can feel my forehead kind of rub across that screw. I always wore hats. Most people didn't know I was bald, and that's why I told the surgeon. I was like, "You could have at least put the screw a little bit lower because I can't wear a hat except if I tilt it." Because that's actually tender. I mean, it's a piece of
Yeah,
metal under there,
I know.
and
And
so
are
I've
you
learned to I've
constantly
learned to embrace it.
are
You
you
know,
constantly afraid that you're going to get hit on the head? This is my biggest fear now. My biggest fear is that I'm going to have an impact on the side of my skull where the plate is and where the screws are. That it's really, if somebody comes near my head, they get the whole, don't touch my head, get away from my head.
yeah, I'm not scared. I don't know. I mean, I just kind of this is. I used to see it as a curse because like I said, mine's in layers. So I was that a. So at first, when I was brain injured, I had the medical experience. I couldn't read the written word, and I know you just had somebody on there talking about the parietal lobe.
Mhm.
So my AVM is actually in the middle of my primary motor cortex. It branches from my parietal to my frontal lobe. So I had lots of side effects. So I remember the surgeons, they saved my life. They stabilized me and they said, "You know what? We're going to send him to a rehab." So I stayed up there 12 days and then they sent me to a rehab for 15 days. And due to insurance purposes, we figured we would save my rehab stay for after my craniotomy. But that's where I kind of have some memories sitting at that rehab. I knew everything the nurses were saying, but I couldn't read the written word. So my parietal lobe had me where I could not. I remember looking at, I can kind of picture them now, words like cat, dog, hat, stuff like that, and I couldn't read them. And it was so frustrating. And then I call it a skip in the record. I, 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 I talk like this, and the frustration was I knew everything I wanted to say, but I couldn't get my brain to tell my mouth to say those words. They just would not come out. And so I remember sitting there with a speech therapist, and they had a one in training, and I told her, I said, "I know all the medical field. I have been in this. I know what's in front of me. I just can't read it." And it would make me so frustrated, you know?
Are you frustrated that you can't read it? Are you frustrated because you you're a medical professional and therefore you should know better or be doing better? What's going on in your brain? Because I wasn't frustrated. I had no idea what the hell was going on and I just went with it. So what's going on with your brain?
If you've had a stroke and you're in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind. Like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously you've never had a stroke before. You probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
With your
Well,
personality,
again,
more so.
all these people in medical uniforms. I've been around medical uniforms, for 15 years at the time. And so these are like coworkers to me, even though I didn't work at this particular rehab. This was the frustration. I knew everything the doctors were saying, but I couldn't speak real well. And, here I am sitting in a wheelchair, so I can't walk at this time. So I always say it's like I had two computers. When one was on, I knew everything medical. I heard everything. I knew what the doctors were saying. And then I was to this other side at other times that I can't read plain words. I can't get up and walk. And see, I didn't know that they had glued me and kind of paralyzed me on my right side. So I remember them pushing me up to a table, putting breakfast in front of me, and I can't reach for the spoon. And so I tell patients and I tell family members that I'm around at the hospital all the time, I said, go brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Go feed yourself with your non-dominant hand. Let's see if you can put that spoon straight to your mouth. See, now I can do it perfect. But back then, I remember I was chasing the spoon to try to get a bite of grits or whatever I was eating. And I just couldn't imagine why this was. Like I said, I was kind of online sometimes and I was offline the other time.
Yeah.
And it was a blur to me. I mean, I remember some of it. I can remember, and my family can't understand this. Most people can't understand it. Unfortunately, my dad has passed away now, but at that time, he was on oxygen, COPD, or stuff like that. I remember being in that rehab and a Notary Republic coming and sitting in the chair in front of me. I'm sitting in the wheelchair. My dad came down the hall. He's huffing and puffing, sitting in the chair next to me. But there's three other people in the room with me: my mother, my stepmom, and my girlfriend. Because they were on my my right side, I had no clue those people were even there.
Wow.
So I have memories of my father and this guy that was doing the Notary Republic. I have no memory of my mother and them being there. And believe it or not, people get their feelings hurt.
I know that. I know it's
They get
make
their
it about
feelings hurt
them.
from a stroke survivor because, I can remember a few people coming and seeing me, and those people are like, "Oh, he remembers me." Unfortunately, the girlfriend I was with at the time used to get mad at me because she'd say, "I was right there in the room with you," and I'm like, she thought I was making it up, saying I don't remember her being there.
Yeah.
And
It says
that's the part
more
of
about them. It says more about them
yes.
than it does you. And that's an interesting situation. It really frustrates me when I hear about people visiting stroke survivors making it about them. You hear about, oh, you had a stroke. Oh, well, yeah, you'll be right. You know what happened to me? I had my little pinky got stuck in a jar or some stupid, silly thing, and they try and minimize your experience, and they also try to somehow relate to you, and they just go about it in a terrible way, and they have no idea how to really do it and what an impact it makes. I was forgetting people all the time as well. I was forgetting who came to visit me, and I did the opposite. I was complaining to my wife that her sister didn't come to visit me. Why hasn't my sister-in-law come to visit me? And she said, but she did. She was one of the first people that were there. But that was one of the most acute phases of my recovery after the second time my AVM bled. I mean, I had no idea that people came from interstate to come and visit me. And a year or so later, they were telling me about the visit that they made. And I'm like, you came to visit me? You traveled 1,000 kilometers and you came to visit me? I don't remember a thing. So it's, if they're going to get their feelings hurt, well, there's something wrong with them. Really.
Well, that's like when I initially got airlifted to that hospital. I had a coworker that came to. He was from. He's not from the coast down here. He was from another state, and he didn't have nothing to do that weekend. So he drove up there to see me, and he said my whole goal was to go see if you were brain damaged and if you forgot your profession. So he said he came up there and gave me some vent settings and a scenario of a patient. and gave me a blood gas, and I answered how to correct that blood gas. The blood work through the ventilator, and so he came back down here and told my other coworkers, he remembers all his respiratory, and that's what is the crazy part. So I remember him, but I don't remember any of my family being next to me or my girlfriend at the time. I had like 5 best friends that came and took a picture next to me in the bed. I remember the only friend that came to see me. I have a friend that's paralyzed from the waist down. I remember him sitting at the end of my bed in his wheelchair. I had no clue the other ones were there. And now they said I talked with them and everything. But that's what people don't get with a hemorrhagic stroke. We talk, and that's my biggest advocacy thing when I go to speak to people is a majority. So they teach you about ischemic strokes, facial droop, paralysis, can't speak. My family said I was actually time traveling back to places I worked. They said my younger brother would ask each day I was in Jackson for the first 12 days, where are you at? And they said I would say clear as a bell. Where else? I'm in Nashville. Where they knew, okay, he's in 2009 to 2010. I was living with a bandmate in 3 doors down. I was up there working at Vanderbilt. And so they gave me my phone, and I was actually texting that bandmate like I was still living with him. But the very next day, he would ask me where I was at, and I was in Cincinnati. Well, they knew, okay, I worked in Cincinnati in 2007 and the first part of 2009. And so somehow I was signing on to Facebook in the ICU on my phone. And I went back months later and looked on my Facebook that I had at the time. And I wrote, I'm downtown Cincinnati trying to break in hospitals to work as a therapist. And a lot of people came in and asked questions underneath me and said, I thought you were in the ICU yourself. Of course, I never answered them, but I say this part of my brain was damaged, this part was functioning, and I was just doing stuff. But they said I would be laying in bed, and at the hospital, they would call code blue. Well, I'm a respiratory therapist. I go to every code blue in the hospital. They said I would raise my hand and say, I'll be there in a minute. So I was, and I tell people I had bells and whistles around me. I was used to the monitors. I was used to the pulse ox. I was used to blood pressure cuffs. I was used to all these bells and whistles. So yeah, part of my brain was injured, but there was a part that had clarity of the place I was in or the environment I was in. So I would react to the environment.
I had a really good friend of mine. He also lives in Melbourne, Australia, where I live. And in the early 1990s, we had a underworld gang war, and there was around 30 murders over a period of a few years, all related to this particular gang war or whatever it was. And it was in the news and in the front of the newspapers all day, every day. It's all we ever heard. And then my friend had a stroke. He had a aneurysm that burst in the back of his head. I think it was the vertebral artery. I'm not sure which one of his burst, but one of them burst, or one of his carotid arteries. I'm not sure. And when he was coming around and starting to talk to people, he was telling them stories of how he was involved with the leader of the gang that was responsible for a lot of these deaths, and how he was dealing drugs, and how he was best mates with him, and he was an amazing man, and all this kind of stuff. And he was telling the story, and people didn't know whether he was making it up or really truly believing it. But he was not making it up. He was truly believing it. It was the most bizarre story that he could come up with, and he was telling it like it was his life. And this is a person who has never done a crooked thing in his entire life, And it was so strange to hear him talk about that, and his family were just forever bewildered by hearing these stories, and they were trying to gently tell him that that's not the case? You're in hospital, you had brain surgery, your head's half mangled, and it's got nothing to do with what's happening in the drug war. So bizarre.
But
That's
to him, it was real.
real, properly
Yes.
real. Yeah. He wasn't making it up.
That's like me. So I had a rupture, and then they let me rest for a month and a week. So I remember they sent me to that rehab. I stayed there, like I said, for about 15 days, which that was so bizarre because like I don't remember why I got up out of the bed. If it was to get my phone on the bedside table or what, but I ended up falling and about hitting my head. I didn't know I couldn't walk, and it was nighttime. Boom!
Wow.
And so when the nurse came in, I told him immediately. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know, but you better not trust me. You better put me in that bed and lock me down, or I'll get you in trouble. By the way, you're going to have to fill out a lot of paperwork for this because every time a patient falls, the nurses have to fill it." So there's the part. Okay, there's the medical experience coming in. But then I don't even know why I got up out of the bed. I didn't know I couldn't walk, you know. But when he put me back in that bed, again, I was back. I call it time traveling now because I was actually, when I lived with that bandmate, I was actually texting him while I was in this hospital, just like I was living with him back in 2009 to 2010. And so I would write him long paragraphs. And I remembered I accidentally deleted that thing, and that upset me. And so then the nurse was it was a male nurse. He was sitting at the door watching me. And I was telling him all the trips I ever went out. So Three Doors Down started like back here in 2000 or 1999 or something like that. So every year, as a little time off, I would go out with my best friend at the time and go on tour with him for like 10 or 12 days and then come back to my normal job. I was telling him stories that were supposed to stay on the road, you know. And I remember telling him he said I would talk and then I would fall asleep and then I would wake up and pick right back up where I started or left off. And I told him that morning, I said, "Whatever I told you, you should have wrote it down because those stories have never been told to anybody." You know, he said, "Man, you would pass out and it's almost like you pick right back up on the next word, like you were reading a sentence, you know?" And so I remember leaving there. That's where I kind of come up with this first part of what I call the three phases of stroke recovery. And so I was in that first phase where I repeated myself every 5 minutes. I had that 5-minute repeat all the time. And then I would realize I'm repeating myself, but I couldn't stop it, you know? And so I got more clarity when they went up there and cracked my skull. When they took me back up there and they cracked my skull, then I recognized everybody around me, even my son. And they told me that's when after the surgery, I told my surgeon, I said, he talked to me a lot because I was in the medical field. And his nurses even said, he talks to you a lot more than any other patient he's had. They said, it must be because you understand what he's saying. Well, when he woke me up from the craniotomy, he said, I got some good news and bad news. And I said, what? You cracked my skull, gave me the scar, and then you got some bad news? Because he said, I was able to get one of your aneurysms, but I couldn't get to the other three. And we're going to send you in 6 weeks to get gamma knife, 90 minutes of gamma knife. We're going to try that option. He said, if I would have took your AVM out, you would have lost your walk, your talk, or a combination of both. So we're going to roll the dice with the radiation.
Yeah.
And so 6 weeks later, I had to go get screwed into a halo, which, I had a screw. I had just been freshly cracked. So they actually had to shift the halo over and put it a little bit off. Oh, man, I was lucky that the three doctors could not agree to go to 90 minutes. But I remember they stopped at 55 minutes. And at this time I didn't know I was having pseudobulbar affect. I don't know. Do you know what that is?
No, what is it?
Like I had the part where I just cried. I mean, just cried. If the wind blew wrong, I cried.
I know what that is. I didn't know what it was called, but I know what
Yeah.
that is. I did the same
Well,
thing.
luckily, I was sitting after my craniotomy. It might have been it was before my gamma knife. I remember sitting on my couch and I had the flat effect. So, I didn't smile. Flat effect, and you can have it for long periods of time. I had it maybe for a couple months. So my family would come over and thought I was depressed because I didn't smile. I was flat. And I recognize patients that I take care of that have flat effect. Because these patients, before they had their craniotomy, they smiled, and all of a sudden now they're, straight, no facial expression. You could go joke with them and they'd ha ha ha, and just be flat. Just no facial expressions. And so luckily here in the States, there was a Danny Glover, an actor. He had a commercial. It was about a medication, but he said, I'm an actor and I can laugh, ha ha ha, and I can cry. But if you have pseudobulbar affect, and it had a box up there, and the first one was brain injury. It was several listings in there that could cause pseudobulbar affect, but that first one was brain injury. I recorded that, took it to my local doctor, and of course I had that broken speech at the time. I was like, this is what's happening to me. And so he put me on, not the medication the commercial was for, but he put me on a medication that kind of toned my emotions down. And it did help, even though I had that crying for a long time.
Yeah. So it was that bad that you needed it dealt with.
Yes.
You
I'm
couldn't.
talking about not a tear. I'm talking about sob.
Is that
And I'll tell you a funny
all the
story.
time, anytime, every time? Where
Yes. It even happened when I went back to work, and we had a running joke with the nurses because I was educating them on what I was going through. And so I said, if I say it's about to rain, that means I need to walk off. I need to exit immediately. And
it's
so,
about to rain.
yes.
I love that.
Every so often, a new nurse would be like, it's sunny outside. I said, no. The other nurse was like, no, that's his code word. He's got to leave right now. Because I'd get in there with somebody that was passing away, and I was emotionally all over the place.
Yeah.
And I can relate to these patients, being on a deathbed. And so I would have some great conversations, but then they would trigger.
Yeah, your
they would trigger the
experience.
rain.
Yeah. So what's it like for you now? That was sounds like a really tumultuous time. You don't really have a succinct way of explaining it. You're all over the place. It sounds exactly like you were back there. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting from listening to it. What are you like now? Have things settled down a fair bit? Have they changed? Are you the same as you were post-stroke, before stroke, or are you a different little version of yourself?
Oh, I'm definitely a different version of myself. We all survivors want their old life back, but I say you can't never get 100%. You might get 80%, but is it really 80%? Because mine is has so many layers, man. It's I eat totally different things now. Things I actually hated for 44 years. Coconut. My mom used to always try to slip that into cookies or cake. I could bite it. It wasn't so much the taste, it was the texture. Nope, it's got coconut in it. I could eat a bag of coconut right now if you broke it open, man. I eat coconut all the time. It kind of, they don't freak my family out, but they're like, whoa, this is kind of strange. You never had coconut in your cabinets, coconut water. You didn't ever have anything coconut. I used to love coffee, which most medical people do. I can't stand coffee. It don't matter how much sugar I put in it, it's bitter.
Mm-hmm.
I try it once a month and I can't stand it.
So it's affected
changed.
flavor
Yeah,
and your taste sensation and bitter is way more bitter than
yes,
it has been.
it's extremely bitter. I mean, that's basically the only way I know to explain coffee, and it don't matter what flavor it is. When I drink it, it's bitter as can be. You know,
Yeah.
it is what it is, and it could have been from the Gamma knife. I mean, my Gamma knife experience. Whenever I would talk to other survivors, you know, they were either AVM unruptured, they were AVM that ruptured, or a stroke. But most of them didn't have the layers that I had: the stroke, the craniotomy, the clipping, the gluing, the Gamma knife. And when I say I was lucky to have these three doctors. All three doctors had to agree to keep giving me radiation. I questioned that at first. When they stopped at 55 minutes, I was like, you got to think, part of my brain is medical. And so I'm thinking, how many open hearts have I ever taken care of that went in for a 5-hour surgery and came out 4? Never. They come out on time or later. Most surgeries don't come out early. Why is my radiation stopping at 55 and I'm not getting the 90 minutes? You know, am I going to have to go through this again? And it was a blessing in disguise.
Why
Of
were they
course,
doing
they
it?
say,
What were they trying to avoid? Were they trying to avoid something?
so, yeah, well, I mean, you know, when an AVM ruptures, they say, you know, you have like a 30% chance of re-rupture within the first year. Every year it goes up. I have these multiple aneurysms. So, I mean, I beat one odds of actually pulling through this. Am I going to beat another one? So the Gamma knife was to close that AVM off. And they told me it would be 2 to 3 years. But when they backed off at 55 minutes, again, my part of my brain that's medical is saying, why didn't you give me the whole 90 minutes, you know? And because I can remember early on, like the first month after Gamma knife, they say, oh, it don't kill one hair follicle. Look, it was like I drank the biggest gallon of hot coffee and it burnt my mouth. Everything, I couldn't taste nothing. It felt like my mouth was scalded. I couldn't smell nothing. It wiped out all my senses, you know?
So it sounds like they were
Well,
trying to minimize the harm of the radiation. Is that what they were trying to do?
yes. And so jumping kind of forward, just to answer your question, I have to wear one of these now,
Uh-huh.
an AFO,
Yep.
2.5 years later after my stroke. So I used to go not too far from where I am right now and run this 2.5 mile bridge. But 2.5 years later, I was in the hospital one night walking and thought I had gum on the bottom of my shoe. It wasn't gum.
Was
I
dog
tried to find
doo-doo?
that piece of, say that again?
Was it dog doo-doo?
No, it was nothing.
Oh,
It was the radiation killing the neurons from my foot. And I was starting to have drop foot.
wow.
Yes. Due to the location of my AVM. And now my neurosurgeon told me this. He said, look, you're going to lose something from this Gamma knife. What's in those cells around that AVM? We don't know. You could lose a function. You could lose taste, speech. You could lose anything. It was the control of my right leg. So for 2.5 years, I could run. I mean, I worked out. I'd done everything I could. I just couldn't speak real well. And my emotions were flipped upside down, you know? And I started having foot drop. And I didn't know I had foot drop for about a month or so. I just kept falling. I'm talking about completely falling and falling hard, you know?
You didn't
And
notice your leg moving differently or didn't notice it? You weren't aware of it,
well,
or you were just, what was it? How did you not notice it? And especially when you were falling heaps.
I was like, I'd fall when I'd get the groceries out of the back of the car, and I'd fall completely backwards. Boom! Like, what in the world? You know, where'd this come from? And so I actually walked into a new doctor that took over my case, just a local doctor that does my meds and stuff. And when I turned the corner, I seen him. I said, "Hey, man, I need a knee brace. I'm just unstable for some reason." He said, "No, when you turn the corner, I noticed you have foot drop."
Wow.
And so I tell people, you unconsciously walk heel to toe. You don't think about it from the day you start walking, you just walk. But you make one of your feet, if you tied a 5-pound weight to the toes of one foot and tried to walk, that would give you foot drop and that would throw you off. It throws you off completely. I mean, if I don't wear my AFO, I'm liable to fall. I fall all the time.
Yeah.
When I'm around the house, I don't wear it. So yeah, I'm blessed. Man, I can talk. If you gave me the option to run or talk, forget running. I'm gonna talk.
Yeah.
you know.
I understand, man. I kind of feel the same way. I've got left side numbness. The entire left side feels numb, and it's colder, and it tenses up, and it gets all messed up, and knotty, and all that kind of stuff. And I need multiple massages and all sorts of things. So I and I can talk, and I can get along with my life, and it's really it's really good. I don't actually pay attention to any of my deficits unless they're causing me pain on the day, which is often, but I don't really care about them. Like I'm not interested in giving them the time of day. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I'm not keen on dwelling on them and giving them any energy. It's just I'm going to get on with it. And if my balance is off, well, my balance is off. If I stumble, which I do often, I stumble. No big deal. I Of course it'll be a big deal if I stumble and then fall and hurt myself, and I don't want to be in that situation. But until that happens, I'm not putting any thoughts in my mind about what my future may be like. Right now it's good, and I'm going to avoid getting to I'm going to do everything I can to put myself in the best situation so that I don't end up tripping over later on in life when it's really important, and a hip fracture can mean the end.
Oh, look. You don't even want to bring in the hip.
I know, but it's a real issue because I've met a lot of stroke survivors who have fallen after they've been released from hospital to recover from the stroke. They're doing well, and then the fall makes it a massive setback and really
Yes.
impacts their mental health, and it impacts their ability to have a cognitive recovery. And I didn't understand how the two could be connected, but I've seen it a number of times now, and it's definitely connected. And that's the thing. So I try not to give these things that I'm left with the time of day. I try not to give them any energy. It's my way of going, screw you, I'm getting on with it, and I'm going to do the best I can. But they don't want to let me get away with it. They remind me every once in a while.
Oh
You're
yeah.
not as you were. You're not normal. You're different now. So it's interesting to hear your perspective on the AFO and the foot drop and the way that you go about it. And
We'll see a lot of
that you're
people.
blessed, because we are blessed. And let's face it, a lot of people are doing it worse. And I hate saying that, but everyone can say that about somebody else. So if you feel like you're doing worse than me and you've heard this, there's somebody doing it worse than you. And it's not a competition who's doing better. The comment is about focusing on what the blessings are. And I know stroke is shit. So hopefully I haven't offended anybody right now in this last few minutes.
Well, that's like I jokingly say this, but I've been on many trips to try to bring awareness to stroke. So I went and met Kyle from Share Your Stroke of Genius up in New York.
Kyle Mingelkamp. Yeah, he's a cool dude. I had him on the podcast.
Early in my recovery, so I'm talking about like the first year, so kind of speed past the Gamma Knife, I was stuck in a disability system that said that we're basing my disability off of my Gamma Knife and not my stroke and my craniotomy.
Okay.
Yeah, they just looked at my last procedure, which was Gamma Knife, and you can have Gamma Knife and go back to work the next day,
Uh-huh.
But if they read deep enough, they would see like 6 weeks before he was having a craniotomy, and 6 weeks before that he had the stroke. And so I was stuck in a disability system that would not help me. I was going to lose my house, my car, and everything. And unfortunately, this is where my brain injury will kick in. I used to be able to block all this from seeing so much death in my career. People would say I was cold because, like, if I went to a funeral, I wouldn't shed a tear. Now, if I think of something, I get a little emotional. And 8 months after my stroke and everything, I would always call my dad whenever I would go to the doctor's office, and he would call me vice versa. He just lived right down the street from me, so we were always working on cars or stuff like that. We had old classic cars and everything, and I was in the shower about to go to my doctor's appointment that morning, and my phone rang, and I opened the curtain. I seen it was him. I said, I'll call him back in a second, and something said, pick it up. Picked it up, and I heard somebody saying my dad was on the floor. And so jeans over a wet body, out the door, I was hauling ass up there. And needless to say, the one person I tell people I put my hands on 1,000 people in a 20-year or 15-year career at that time. I mean, sometimes I'd go to a code like at Vanderbilt, I might go 6 times a night. You might go 10, you might save 10, lose 5, save 5. It's just you're doing a job to save a life. This is the one life I should have been able to save. And me and that fireman, we tried our hardest, but the therapist in me said, we're going to save him. And the son in me said, come back, Dad. Needless to say, he passed away. And I pushed against my family because now I'm a brain injured survivor and my world has been rocked. And I need some normalcy in my life. And so I went to the doctor that has known me since I was a kid. And I went to him and said, I brought you the rarest case at the end of your career. I need you to write 2 sentences for me. Can return to work, cannot do chest compressions. And he wrote it. I went to the hospital where I work, said, I want to come back to work. They said, whoa, we gotta test you. This was my way of trying. I said, forget the disability. I don't care what back money they would pay me. Money is not an object. Come take my house. I don't care. I want some normalcy. And my normal life was the hospital. Yeah. I knew these people would understand what I was going through.
Yeah.
And so they let me come back to work, but then they drilled me. And this was the crazy part of my injury. I could look at a blood gas and tell you what vent settings to do. I was intubating patients, but then I couldn't get my own locker.
Yeah.
Or I would forget my password every day and have to call IT. It's me again. I need a new password.
How long did it take for you to get back to work?
So I went back to work a week after my dad passed away. I mean, I was determined.
How long since that gamma knife, though?
So my dad passed away March the 30th, I believe it was, of 2016. I had the gamma knife on October the 30th. So my rupture was August the 14th. My craniotomy was September the 21st. My gamma knife was October the 30th. I mean, it was just
all in 2016.
That's 2015.
Oh wow, okay. And so you were back to work about a year later.
It was less than a year. I went back to work. I want to say maybe April the 15th of that year.
Okay. Did you feel? I know that you got back. I know you were in there. Did you feel confident? Were there times where you said, "This is I don't know what the hell I'm doing"?
I was confident about my ability. So that's the crazy thing. I could look at a blood gas. I knew what the workload I needed to do, the breathing treatments. I was intubating patient two weeks after I got back. I was having to prove myself again, and I had no problem with that. But then I had to ask help to get in my locker, or calling IT all the time, or what's the passcode to this? Simple little things that I should have been able to remember would just do. And they'd say, well, put it in your phone. I said, oh, behind a password? That makes sense.
I was at home recovering on my own because I was good enough to be at home alone after the brain surgery, probably maybe 2 or 3 months after. It was still quite warm. And because it was quite warm in Melbourne, it was summer, I didn't want to go for a walk outside because the heat was really affecting me. So I was allowed to drive at that time, and I would drive to the local shopping mall, park the car, and then walk in the shopping mall. Was my way of getting exercise, and I did it because it was air conditioned. Try try getting back to the car. Oh my gosh, I often spent half an hour or more walking through the car parks, just trying to remember which car park I had parked in and having no idea, and then just walking around in circles trying to find the car. It was like a Seinfeld episode. I mean, it was terrible, but I could do all the things that I needed to do to get there. I could drive, I could, walk, I could do some browsing, I could do all those things. And it just, as soon as I had to turn my attention to getting back into the car, I had no idea where it was. Not the single inkling of where it was. In fact, it felt like it had been stolen. Like, that's how bad it felt. It was just terrible. And no matter what I did, I couldn't. It wasn't getting better quickly. It got better, but it wasn't getting better quickly. So I I know what you mean about being able to do really complex tasks, and then the one thing that's meant to be, well, that appears to be simple becomes really difficult. I have another friend who was in Melbourne who also had a stroke, and she couldn't find in her car the volume button on her radio. So she could do everything else, but had no idea where the volume button was, even if she was staring at it.
Well, whenever I go speak to like groups or families, I often ask them because of my frontal lobe injury, I was real blunt at first. So I was like, "So what would you do if you couldn't wipe your ass or brush your own teeth?" I mean, that's a blunt statement, but it pulls somebody into the conversation of, "Whoa, I've never thought about that." I said, "That's two things you do behind closed doors that's private. But if you have a stroke," because I talk to a lot of diabetes or CHF, a lot of patients, and I try to tell them there's so many things that can cause a stroke.
Yeah.
I said, there is no reset button on a stroke. There's no mulligan. We're not playing golf and you get let me pull the ball back here and hit it again. Your life changes from that moment it happens. And, but I would also ask them stuff like, so if I asked you this question, if you had a choice of one sensory, what would you pick? Sight, hearing, taste, smell? The feeling of air conditioner or heat hitting you on the top of your head. I said, because any two will overstimulate you. So I would get overstimulated. I mean, so bad. I had to go to listen to I would drive down the interstate or to work, listen to meditation music.
Yeah.
Because what I listened to all the time and used to go take pictures of rock bands I could hear things in the music I never heard before. Like I never heard that hi-hat.
Did you ever get overstimulated while you're at work and had to take time out and rest? Because that's a pretty full-on environment. There's noises, there's really bright lights, there's a lot of information on the paperwork that you're reading.
Yeah, so I would get overstimulated, and then the pseudobulbar effect would kick in, and it would I'd have to go hide in a room and catch my composure. It's embarrassing. I got to where when I go to talk to a stroke group, because there's always that one stroke person sitting in a wheelchair that has a frontal lobe that lashes out at you, because I've experienced that, and I've had to tell them, yeah, I used to be like you, or this person over here that's sitting in the wheelchair that can't speak and is crying. And I said, y'all are going to see what my brain injury brings to me, because I'm going to cry right along with you. As I bring my memories that I can pull back up, I remember myself sitting in that wheelchair. I remember a lot of that stuff, Yeah, there's a big gap of my recovery that didn't. It still don't come to me to this day.
Yeah.
Here's a funny little tidbit. So I was in a relationship. So I lost 2 weeks before my stroke, and me and my girlfriend had split up. But first person I asked for was her. So my family didn't know if we got back together or not. So who did they bring to my bedside? Her. And she tried to call the shots, which caused a bunch of family drama, But yeah, I lost that span of time of us actually breaking up. And how I knew it was true was my dad, he loved this girl, or, he really liked her. And he said, yeah, you brought your convertible Mustang to my shop and said, I'm done. He said, so your car sits at my shop. And so I knew my dad wasn't going to lie about it. And that's the only reason I would have took my car back. So I had to go through a new relationship.
And a breakup again.
Yeah, it eventually ended because I had to tell my family I don't remember breaking up with her. And if she goes back to doing whatever she done to cause us to break up, then it'll play out, eventually. But I learned so much from her, and I actually taught her a lot of stuff. I was dealing with a brain injury patient. She just never talked about her. She had a VP shunt in her head, and I had to teach her. So when I got back to where I could read the written word, I was like diving into my medical field, my medical records, and then I would dive into her VP shunt. And I told her, I said, you've had your VP shunt for 12 years. Do you know those things only last? They have a warranty of 6 months to 10 years. You're going to have another brain surgery in your lifetime. And she was one of those ones that denied her injury.
Mm.
If I don't speak about it, it don't exist. But it gave so much clarity to me of our up and down relationship. When she didn't hydrate well, when she didn't eat the right amount of food, people don't realize you don't hydrate. Guess what?
Yeah, your brain
You
shrinks.
still have the same amount of blood cells and fluid in your body. If you have a VP shunt, it's because you have overproduction of cerebral spinal fluid. And I would try to educate her, but again, that was just a little tidbit that my 2 weeks of lost memory actually lost a breakup. So I had to go back and relive all that stuff.
That's
It was
amazing.
just, like I said, this onion has many layers, man.
It certainly does. I mean, that's what stroke survivors often find. That's one of the hardest things to convey is that stroke recovery is not, you can't put a timeline on it. It's not like a broken ankle or a broken foot or a broken arm. It doesn't have 6 weeks and then you take the cast off and then it's better. And then you go through a little bit of rehab and you go back to your normal life. It's not like that. And that's one of the hardest things. And I've got people who I coach through their own recovery, and but it's been 9 months. Why am I not better? It's been 9 months. And so how do you get the message across? How do you say to somebody that I've been 10 years nearly and I'm still recovering, and the recovery has changed a lot. It's different, but I'm still recovering. I might be in my emotional phase of my recovery or my psychological phase of my recovery. Whatever it is, it's still ongoing. It hasn't stopped. So I hate doing that to people who are so early on and potentially giving them the news that, sorry, this is going to continue for far longer, and I'm going to have to disappoint you and tell you that in 12 months, you're not going to miraculously be better. It would be great, but it's very, very rare.
Well, I found out, because I get exposed to I seek out every brain injury and every stroke survivor that comes into my hospital. And I found out that, we as humans, we don't realize it took us a year to learn how to walk. But when we get it taken away from us, we want it back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it just don't work that way,
Yeah.
but we want it now. And it's hard for a stroke survivor. Like I said, the first 2 years, I was so focused on bringing light to the world about stroke, you know. So I traveled across 10 different states. I went back to every hospital that I worked in, walked in with street clothes and tattoos, I always say, because you get judged by your first sight. And I would go in there and say, can I speak to a stroke advocate? And you wouldn't believe how many hospitals fail at that one question. Most of them don't, small hospitals don't have a stroke advocate. But so I went back to Vanderbilt and they were spot on. I mean, I went and talked to 2 stroke advocates. So when I worked at Vanderbilt, they didn't have a neuro residency there, but I'd done my research and they had started one in 2013. So as I was talking to the head stroke advocate, she requested, they just hired a new person. I went over there to talk to him. She got called to an incoming stroke into the ER at that moment. And so I went and talked to him for a while. And then I said, hey, let me go, where's these residents at? And crazy how I used to work there. When I walked in there, it was a totally different place. But as I walked the halls, I started getting memories back. And so I went and found those residents. And I mean, to me, residents in a hospital, I always say they look like a covey of quail. There's one dominant one and the rest follow wherever they go, So I went and seeked them out and I showed them my scans and everything. But they got called to that stroke that was coming into the ER. But I was glad to see that they had an advocate. They had, because the one question I asked is, okay, you save the stroke survivor. When you send them home, what do you tell their family? Because if you don't educate that family, you're sending them home with what they think is a little chihuahua on a leash, but they really got a Rottweiler or a bulldog on that leash. And eventually, after about the 10th time of them telling their stroke survivor, you're so blessed, they're going to get bit because that stroke survivor is going to lash out, And it's just, and so my early on thing was, if I go talk to stroke survivors, they're going to forget me. If I talk to the families, that's the best way for me to help the stroke survivor. If I can get them to understand that they might repeat themselves every 5 minutes, they might cry, they might lash out, but they might not remember it 5 minutes later. It's a tough pill for the family to get cussed out, and they're taking care of this person, and then they leave out and come back in, and the survivor acts like nothing happened. Yes. That still stings that family member. It's going to be hard for them to cook food that night for that person,
and make it tasty. Yeah, they're not going to make it tasty. They're going to make it terrible.
And so when I went to these hospitals, I went back to some major medical centers. I'm not going to call their name out, but I walked in there and I loved working at the hospital, and I let them pass me around for 2 hours. They'd say, oh, go over here and see this person. Go over here and talk to this person. And finally, this lady came to me and said, who are you looking for? I said, I had a stroke. She said, oh, we have a great stroke team. I said, okay, I survived. I'm going home. Who talks to my family? And they had no clue. And that's where the break in the link is. If you don't teach that family, look, they have a frontal lobe injury. They're going to cuss you out. They're going to do all kinds of stuff. They don't have a filter. That's a setup for failure.
Yes.
Or, hey, they got memory problems, or like me, parietal. I mean, I couldn't read the written word for a good amount of time, And so that was frustrating for me. And you come in and tell me I'm blessed, I can't read.
Yeah, and it's fresh. It's just happened.
Yeah.
You're in the hardest part of the recovery, the very early phase, and you're navigating it. You don't know what's going on. It's all new. Well, you perhaps better equipped than most people, but yeah, you're right. The rest of the families and the survivors, they've got no idea. I didn't know what I had to deal with when I was going to come home, and my wife had to cop the brunt of that. She really copped it.
if you go on the support groups anywhere on Facebook and you type in this question, how many people are still with their partner that they were with when they had their stroke?
Yeah.
80 to 90% of those people will say they're not with them. They walked away.
That's a great question. I'm going to ask that on my Instagram one day.
I mean, there's some up there that, you know, they stuck in there with them, but they are the few, you know. And so I get on there and try to help people, man. I try to answer questions, but there's also there's people on there. I hate to say, there's people on some of those support groups that are pissed at the world and try to start fires.
Yeah.
And you know, no matter what your belief is, when you go on there, like this one guy, he goes on there every year and he asks this one question, and man, it makes the fire flame. He asks this simple question: is there any atheist stroke survivors on here? Oh my God. Everybody that believes in any religion comes on there and, I thought I believed in God, but what God would do this to me? And just, and that's what this guy is wanting to do. He's wanting to start the fire. I'm pissed at the world. This happened to me. I want a bunch of people to be pissed.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough that people are pissed at God or whoever. It's fair enough. Like, I totally get it. And I had this exact same thing that happened on my Facebook, Recovery After Stroke, where I asked the question. The question was stroke the worst thing that happened to you? And some people said they found God and God helped them through, which is an amazing thing. Whether they found them or whatever, I don't mind. You know, whatever helped you through. And then this other person said, what God? You know, God does terrible things to people and da-da-da. So what he was trying to do was school them on their experience of finding God. And that's not nice. If the question was, did you find or lose God during your stroke experience, then his comment was relevant and I'm happy to hear it. But in this instance, he was trying to minimize somebody else's experience, and he did not want to listen to me or read my comments when I said to him, it's just not appropriate. Like, this is not a religious page. This is a stroke page. A religion is for some other page.
On that note, I had to actually, and it took a long time for me to not take it personal when people would do that, because I had to realize, hey, I'm talking to people with a brain injury. What do I expect? You know? And so, yes, I mean, myself, I have a brain injury. I have to convince people, look, I am a stroke survivor. I don't tell people my challenges outside of the hospital. They know I struggle here and there a little bit. And I told them, I said, when I can't do my job, I went and told my boss, when I can't do my job, I'll personally turn in my resignation. I will not put anybody at harm's way.
Yeah.
You know, and I told her that early on, and I tell her every year, but I have to tell them, these people have a brain injury. You go in there, because we have so many patients come in, and some nurses will come and tell me there's a brain injury patient in this room. Go see if you can't give them some insight, you know? And man, it's like, I tell people that a brain injury crosses all race, religion, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You can walk into a room with a total stranger. If they see your scar or you see their scar, it's like instant connection. This person knows where I've been, knows what I've been through. So it's a community that's like, there is no barriers to it, except we have brain injuries and sometimes we lash out.
Yeah, and we speak inappropriately, but that's okay. That's why we're good at forgiving as well. We'll forgive.
Yes.
Sam, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you so much for reaching out. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm always saddened to hear when life continues to happen during stroke recovery and we lose loved ones and people pass away. It's the nature of it. Like, things don't stop because you had a stroke, and it complicates recovery, and it makes things harder, and it makes people feel a little bit more overwhelmed. I'm glad that you cried on my podcast, because that's the clip I'm going to use to show everybody that men can cry and that it's okay.
Hey, I have no problem with it. The people that are around me know that it can come at any time. Now it's not as bad now, but if I go talk to people, or if there's a patient passing away, or I'm talking to the family members, poof, and I have to say, you have to excuse me. I have a brain injury. I can't control this. You know,
It's accepted, but isn't it accepted that medical professionals will cry every once in a while, especially around patients? Isn't that a good thing?
so your new nurses usually do, but as you've been in it 10 plus years, it's,
You have to
I hate to
separate
say it
yourself.
hardens you.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be able to do the job.
Yeah.
You know, this patient passes away, but you got 4 or 5 other patients you got to take care of.
Yeah.
So, you know, my family didn't know what I'd done for a living. I mean, they knew, but they didn't really know. You go ask the average person about a respiratory therapist, man, they just give breathing treatments. They're a treatment jockey, they call us, you know.
Yeah.
They don't realize we go to every code. When the doctor writes this on a piece of paper or sends it across on a computer, pull the patient off, we have to do that. And that was part of when I had Gamma Knife, my family thought I was seeing spirits because I was talking about these people, and they said, "Oh, he's way out there. Something's going wrong with him," and it wasn't. So a lot of times you go to a code. If you're in a big hospital, you don't know this patient. It's on another floor. You've never seen this patient. You go in there and do the job and either save them or you don't, and then you got to go right back to work. And so I've seen little babies pass away. I've seen just ungodly amounts of people. But after my Gamma Knife, when I would try to go to sleep, the best way to describe it, and I've described it like this before to a group, when I closed my eyes, it looked like an old 9mm film reel going. And it was every code that I'd ever been to. I'm talking about vivid, like it was a movie, back to back to back to back. So, of course, I didn't want to sleep. And so I went for like 3 days without sleep. And then I was really hallucinating, thought people was trying to break in my house and stuff, you know. But finally, I got it across to my family what I'd done and what I had seen. So this part of my brain being injured, those little flashpoint memories of not even memories, not something that you can actually pull back up into memory. Oh, I remember that code. When you do 200 or 300 codes in a year, you're not going to remember every one of them. Mm-hmm. And so I was seeing these people like I was in the room doing the actual event. And I did not want to close my eyes. I've wrote about that before. It was a memory that I would have never thought I could pull those people back up. I remember a 6-year-old kid passing away from undiagnosed diabetes. You know, I mean, just so much clarity. I could hear his mother cry. You know, it was that real.
And if you have to have that with you every day at work, you're not going to be able to work, really, are you? So you do have to separate yourself. You do have to switch that off, and you've got to put it behind you. Otherwise, you're going to be unable to help anybody else. It's going to be terrible.
Yes, and it's not that we're cold. We have to do a job, and to be able to do that job, you have to go clear your mind and do the job.
Yeah,
hoping the best outcome, but
sometimes you
bring a brain injury into it. It turns the movie reels on, you know.
And what did you call it? It turns the rain on from time to time.
Oh yeah, it's about to rain.
It's about to rain. Sam, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed our chat. Thanks so much for joining me on today's Recovery After Stroke podcast. Do you ever wish there was just one place to go for resources, advice, and support in your stroke recovery? Whether you've been navigating your journey for weeks, months, or years now, I know firsthand how difficult it can be to get the answers you need. This road is both physically and mentally challenging, from reclaiming your independence to getting back to work to rebuilding your confidence and more. Your symptoms don't follow a rule book, and as soon as you leave the hospital, you no longer have medical professionals on tap. I know for me, it felt as if I was teaching myself a new language from scratch with no native speaker in sight. If this sounds like you, I'm here to tell you that you're not alone, and there is a better way to navigate your recovery and build a fulfilling life that you love. I've created an inclusive, supportive, and accessible membership community called Recovery After Stroke. This all in one support and resource program is designed to help you take your health into your own hands. This is your guidebook through every step in your journey, from reducing fatigue to strengthening your brain health to overcoming anxiety and more. To find out more and to join the community, head to recoveryafterstroke.com. See you next time.
Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.